Right, everybody will be starting here in 4 minutes. Right. Brendan, thank you so much. Desmond, all right. Hey, there he is, the main man, the myth, the legend, Cyber. Right. Brandon Yansky, good job. Richard, kick out that X-Town, please. Andres, can you let the folks in, and then kick out the note takers, please?
Yep, I'm getting rid of note takers.
Thank you. All right, Adam, Cecilia, thank you so much for coming today. This will be awesome. All right. There's a few more minutes to go, folks. We're going to get started here.
The Microsoft ecosystem is constantly evolving, and for many partners, it's overwhelming to keep up. Constant program updates, intricate incentive structures, and ever-changing priorities leave partners struggling to stay ahead. Without a clear roadmap, critical opportunities are missed. These challenges don't just cost time, they cost revenue. Working with Microsoft doesn't have to be this difficult. With the right support, you can cut through the complexity, take control of your strategy, and unlock measurable growth. We help partners simplify their path to success by providing the guidance and resources needed to fully maximize their Microsoft relationship. Ready to learn more?
All right, all right, all right. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening to you, and welcome to this edition, April 2026, of Voice of the Microsoft Partner. My name is Sherman Crancer. I'm the CEO of the Crancer Group, and want to say thank you, everybody, for joining us today. Today's focus is winning together: how partners and Microsoft sellers co-sell more effectively. Now, I know there's been a lot of different, webinars out there, how to sell with Microsoft, everyone's got their opinions. But today, we've got two amazing speakers that are going to tell you literally from the very top at Microsoft, what to do, what to understand, what to consider. It's going to be fantastic. You're going to just be thrilled with our guest speakers. So just a couple quick things with us today. Please use the chat window as a networking opportunity. If you want to share who you are, where you're coming from, just in case another partner needs to talk to you, what you specialize in, please utilize the chat. Go ahead and put your name and your contact info. We want to make sure that this is always an opportunity for us to chat. Next is we're going to be using polls today, and the polls today actually are going to be just kind of helping accentuate the message, really. So please go ahead and vote on the polls. Now, we do not say or publish who votes on what or where or when. We keep your privacy. It's really important to us for that. But because, we want to make it fun, so we want to make it interactive. Third thing is please ask questions in the meeting chat. Go ahead and ask questions. My team is going to answer probably the level 100, 200s. But if we have the opportunity to actually ask, Brandon and Andrew, we might get that opportunity to do that. So, we're really looking forward to this. So please, let's make this interactive. We really want to talk some of these things through. There's some really neat strategies. I think you're going to be leaving with this, with really just some great information, and it'll put you in a position where you can effectively work with Microsoft sellers. All right, so the agenda today is, before we start, we've got two slides with one of our directors of Alliance here, David Glantz, will be doing some Microsoft updates, some really cool stuff that came out. Next, we have the three pillars we're focusing on today are what Microsoft sellers actually need from their partners, how partners can position themselves for co-sell success, and then the third pillar is really future-proofing a partner business with Microsoft. Now, we have about 10 questions we're going to be asking our guest speakers today, and we're going to be going through that. Now, if we do not answer your question today, this is the last thing I mentioned here. If we do not answer your question today, we're going to do a recap and fully answer your question afterwards. We'll huddle with Brandon and Andrew just to make sure, because sometimes there's some things you can and cannot say, or maybe it's a little too long for what the program we have, but we'll make sure that we go ahead and do this. Now, last thing I'm going to mention before I send it over to David, we want to just mention, if you are looking for a distributor to sell CSP, or you're a little bit unhappy with your current one, we are a big proponent of Arrow. Arrow is one of our longstanding partners for us. We think so highly of them. They've got a great program, ArrowSphere, in the back end to help manage your business with your distributor. But brought to you by Arrow today. Now, we don't have any financial ties to say that. We actually are just saying this because we actually really, really like what they do with the partners, and that's kind of how we do it. With that being said, I'm going to go ahead and pass it over to David Glantz. Thank you, David. I'll go ahead and get you in the first slide. David Glantz is one of our directors of Alliance here. David?
Yeah, excellent. Thank you, Sherman. All right, so the first slide I want to hit on here, most of you have probably already seen this, right? But these changes are coming up soon, July 1st. We've been sharing everything around these changes and how partners can posture for these changes with their base since the news broke a while ago, but just wanted to take a quick moment, walk through it together in case it wasn't on your radar. The short version of it is pretty simple. A handful of the SKUs are going to stay flat. A handful are going to go up by a modest amount, right? Big call outs I want everybody to key in on is E3 and E5. Those are going to go up $3 a piece. Business Premium, though, interestingly, is going to stay flat at 22. You'll also notice on the right-hand side that Microsoft is bundling some of the new value into the SKUs that are seeing increases, things like P1, P2, Security Copilot. Those additions are going to be your talking points when customers ask why their bill is going up for anybody that has a renewal post July 1st, right? For those conversations, we recommend you just lead with the value that they're getting. Now, if you have customers with renewal dates before July 1st, this is your window, right? Go ahead and get them engaged, lock them into either a 1 or 3 year commitment at today's pricing, so that way they don't get steamrolled after July 1st, right? A couple other things I want to flag. E7 launch is a week away, right? It's May 1st. If you have any customers currently on E5 and they also consume Copilot, they should be moving to E7. It's effectively the same price on an annual commit, but there's more value baked in. For your enterprise customers, funny enough, it's actually going to save them money on an annual commit if they go to E7. For your SMB customers that are currently still on, say, Business Standard or Business Premium, and they've shown some interest in Copilot, make sure you're engaging them on the Copilot for Business bundle SKUs. Those price points are very attractive. It's, for example, Business Premium and Copilot for Business is $32 a head. Copilot off the street today is $30. So lots of opportunity there. With that said, Sherman, we can go ahead and move to the next slide real quick.
All right, let me go over here.
Okay. Now, this is specifically for direct bill partners. If you're an indirect reseller today, this does not impact you the same way, right? But there are some trickle down effects. But if you are a direct bill partner, your support costs will most likely increase in FY27 or 28. And we're not talking a few thousand. We're talking as much as 4 to 10 times comparative to what you are spending today. At a minimum, your cost will become $5,000 per month or $60,000 over the course of the year. That's going to be the floor. If you want to know what your true cost could be, you're going to need to take a look at the charts below and the percentages, because it's based off of your CSP billed revenue. So I'll just walk through a quick example. If you drive 4 million in CSP billed revenue today, we'll say 2.5 million of that is Azure. We're looking at 100,000 right there. The other 1.5 million non-Azure is going to be 45,000. So we'd be looking all in at 145,000 per year without performance incentives. This has to do with the way that support packages are changing. You guys have advanced support for partners. You have premier support for partners. This is unified for partners. This will eventually replace the 2 options you have today. When exactly that timeline is, we don't know. We don't have that information. That's why we're saying FY27, FY28, right? Now, if we go back to the numbers real quick, we were talking 145,000 for a 4 million CSP based on that breakout of Azure and non-Azure. If you wanted to qualify for the best incentive, if you notice on the right-hand side, performance incentive, there's a case count, and that's per 1 million in revenue. And then you have a discount percentage, okay? So if you wanted to qualify for the best incentive scenario as a $4 million partner, the best you can get is 40% because you're in category A. You'd need to open fewer than 24 cases over the year to reduce your cost from 145,000 down to 87,000. And in order to qualify for the performance incentive, you have to attain the support services designation. That's still in a little bit of a preview. It will become GA shortly. If it didn't become GA yesterday, and maybe I missed it, but that's another designation that you're going to need to attain. So if anything I talked about in these last 2 slides, if it sparked questions or you want to dig into specifics around anything I've highlighted, happy to connect. I'll go ahead and drop my Calendly in the chat, and feel free to grab some times early next week, and we can talk through it. So that said, I'll throw it back to you, Sherman.
Thank you very much. So that's basically a wrap if you're a direct partner. So if you're looking to now change because you're a direct partner and realize that your your support cost is through the roof, go talk to Arrow. They've got a great way to help you out. And I know I'm shilling for Arrow today, but there's still, we like them. So that's good. All right. So with that being said, I want to go ahead and get over to our speakers today. Want to go ahead and introduce Andrew Bowe and Brandon Blau. Andrew, would you mind introducing yourself, a little bit of your background for the folks to hear about?
Yeah. And hey, Sherman, thanks for letting us join. This is really cool to be able to come in and meet with partners and do this and share a little bit about what we have. And as you know, Brandon and I recently left Microsoft, so we're not going to maybe get in too much trouble, but hopefully we can give a little bit more perspective. So my name is Andrew Bowe. I was the director of partner strategy for Azure SMB and SMC. You could think of me everything from specializations, incentives, designations, all the way through a lot of the partner training and other programs that we did at Microsoft. And then for the last 6 months, I've been a little bit of an accidental consultant. When I left Microsoft, I had more and more partners reach out and want some help building their co-sell alliances, their programs, a lot of startup ISVs I've been working with. So right now, I'm just kind of enjoying this time and working with partners and doing things like this that I'm fortunate enough to do. And with that, I'll pass over to my former partner in crime and new partner in crime, I think, Brandon.
That's
Brandon.
right. So folks, be careful when you have a conversation with Andy, because before you know it, you're on to your next episode. Great to meet you all. Brandon Blau. Similar to Andy, I was at Microsoft for 10 years, just left the building last fall. And since then, I've really taken some time to recharge, taken some time to get new kids out to college, and also work on some rental properties. But, you do those things, and the software, the corporate engine, it never sleeps. It brings you back. And so now I'm having a number of interesting conversations of some regional sales lead roles, and also talking with some partners. A big part of my career at Microsoft and pre-Microsoft is hybrid sales organizations. It was great to see, I started in the BizApps organization, Dynamics, and it was great to see Rob and a few others on the call from the old school days, where we're just getting the mothership of BizApps into the Microsoft engine, getting digital sales set up with partner. That's what I started the business, my journey. More recently, been working with consummate villains like Andy, leading the worldwide strategy and the sales plan for Azure in SMC corporate and SMB, right? And so they're looking at the overall community, again, working on the commission, sales strategy, go-to-market sales plays, et cetera. And through that, it was funny talking with Richard and Sherman. Obviously, Azure Immersion Workshop's a big part of one of the things that they do. I was founding member of that years back. It was, how do we empower y'all to be able to do more with customers and get that demand into your pipeline? Similarly, was on the forefront of partner-led AMM. Again, launched the AMP program as we do at Microsoft. Lots of great opportunities. Too much complexity. How do you simplify? How do you give partners the ability to take that to customers direct? And so I just give you that as background and appreciation, that I think where I'll be able to add some value with you all today, and in maybe subsequent conversations, is how to navigate the Microsoft sales ecosystem, maybe some of the psyche of the sales team and working with partners. And particularly if you're talking about corporate and SMB, you all drive the growth. And, ever since I started at Microsoft, one of the takeaways has been, man, what an incredible organization, so many services, so many partners, so many investment opportunities. But on the flip side of that, boy, is it complex, right? And so I have a lot of empathy for this squad here in terms of what you go through day to day, in terms of the customer outcomes you drive, and also your patience and persistence in terms of navigating the Microsoft matrix to be successful. And, I think there's been a lot of improvement made in past years, but isn't, as we covered today in the lead up, it's constant change, right? And so it's always something that we can learn and improve from. So look forward to the conversation today.
Awesome, man. We got some heavyweights today, folks. This is fantastic. Okay. So we got we're not going to launch our first poll, Richard. We'll go into the second one after this conversation here. But the first question, we're going to get right into it for everybody here. The first question really is, and I'm going to go to Brandon for this because, gosh, with your experience there, right? So from your perspective, leading SMC sellers globally, what makes a partner truly valuable to a Microsoft seller?
That's a big question, and I'll speak with a small, medium corporate kind of cap on. At the macro level, you cannot hit your number without your partners, period, right? For perspective, even in the corporate segment, and this may be changed slightly in the second half, but typically an Azure specialist would have in the corporate segment about 60, 70 accounts that they would look after. There's no way to get intimate and close with those customers. Moreover, you all are involved in their business day to day, understanding what their real problems are, understanding where power is and who the key stakeholders are. So that just coverage, and then also the ongoing customer and kind of that industry expertise, that is something that the Microsoft corporate seller needs to leverage partner for, period, at the macro level. At the micro level, right, what makes a partner valuable? Focused solutions and delivery that are differentiated from the masses, responsive and honest communications. I think in terms of how you qualify promptly and then challenge and improve one another. It's a two-way street, right? Partnership. I would say a velocity mindset, particularly in the Azure shop, but really across all the workloads. It is, taking that, interest to a qualified project, to a commitment to an actual consuming item. It ain't easy, right? And so that appreciation for that sales cycle and the strengths and weaknesses we all bring to it throughout is key. And then obviously, hey, if you bring new opportunities, that's something that really makes it valuable, in addition to doing what we say we're going to do, but bringing new opportunities to the forefront, because as we know, the targets keep getting bigger for all of us, and there's always new solutions that we're asked to kind of adjacently sell. So that's a long-winded answer to your big open leading question, Richard, but Andy, would you add anything on to that?
So Brandon, I think you knocked that out of the park. I would say two things. I think one of the biggest frustrations I used to get from sellers is when partners come in and they say, okay, the seller would ask, what do you specialize on? Or what's your focus area? We do everything. We can do it all. That's really hard for sellers to rationalize when they have a book of partners that they work with on a regular basis. Why would they pick up another partner that supposedly does everything and is really good, across the entire sphere of modern work, Azure, AI? So to sellers, sometimes I think that overgeneralization is actually a warning sign. It doesn't mean you're available for all types of work. It really tells them that you're an extreme generalist and probably won't deliver the pipeline velocity and won't be able to carry the workloads that they need you to carry without additional support. The other thing I think that's a big deal, and we're going to go and talk about this a lot more, and I've been consulting partners on this a lot too. Step back and look at what's happening in Microsoft right now. And Brandon touched on the macro level, but understand that the framework at Microsoft has changed and will continue to change. They are directing their investments towards AI. There are not as many sellers in the field. There are not as many partner managers, and the sellers that are in the field are being asked to cover all of Azure. There are no more specific sellers on one particular workload or one particular, very finite solution area. So they are a little bit more general in nature, which means they absolutely have to shoulder the burden of driving those engagements from end to end onto the partner. If you want to be valuable to sellers, introduce pipeline. Absolutely. They love new pipeline. It needs to be valid pipeline. Please don't introduce 800 opportunities because you pulled them off a propensity report and they're all junk. A seller looks at that and they immediately toss it all out. But they have to be legitimate opportunities that already have deal velocity. And then they lean on sellers, have the ability to say, yes, we own this, we carry it end to end. Specifically, if you're the incumbent partner in that engagement, you already have a relationship with that customer. There's a familiarity there. I think that sellers are going to look at time to close as probably one of their premier metrics. It takes a long time to introduce a new partner in. So I guess really we could go on this for a little bit. I know there's a lot of questions, but Brandon kind of knocked it out of the park there. There would be my two things to sort of put in the back of your hat right away.
Excellent. Now, let's go ahead and launch our poll here. I'm curious if people have different thoughts here, but Richard, if you can go ahead and launch that one here. So really the question is, what do sellers look for when working with a partner? So it brings new opportunities, responsive and easy to work with, helps close deals, understands Microsoft priorities, or all of the above. So yeah, if you go ahead and just click that and go ahead and give a response. I'm curious to see what we've gotten from our very first one, right? Like, what have we heard? So all of the above, look at that. That's good because I mean, they're looking for new opportunities, right? We're responsive and easy ways to work with. That's what we're trying to figure out. Very good, very good. Thanks, guys, for voting on that. That's a good way to keep us interactive here. All right, our next question here, I think we're going to get to Andy first, is going to be, what should partners do to prepare themselves before approaching Microsoft sellers?
That's a pretty broad question. I'm probably not going to answer this. I'm not going to answer this in the Microsoft way. I'll take a really partner-centric view of this.
Okay.
If you have referenceable case studies, if you have referenceable win wires, if you have solution designation specializations, and if you have opportunities, bring all of that together. Don't make a seller ferret around to figure out who you are and what you are, what your capability is, what your capacity is. Make sure that you're bringing with you the background that says, yes, we can do this. If it's fabric and it's, you're doing some database work or whatever, say, hey, we did fabric analyst in a day and we've done these particular projects, delivered this much ACR. That gives sellers confidence. Yes, I think there's also something to be said on the more programmatic things on, getting the solution partner designation, the specialization. But I also want partners to think of those as table stakes. Sellers aren't really going to work with you if you don't have a solution partner designation. Does that mean you need to go get every designation on planet Earth? Probably not, just because you're not going to go get 60 intermediate and advanced certs. So do what's best for your business. Same thing with specializations. If you really want to work on virtual desktop and you have a great partnership with, one of the enabling ISVs, I don't know, we'll probably stay away from mentioning names, but then go get the AVD specialization. You have access to partner-led Azure Accelerate. You have access to funding. You have a pipeline. You have engagements that you're working on. And suddenly a seller's ear perks up because you're coming in there with verified capability, with pipeline, having delivered successful engagements. And by the way, here's 20 more Citrix to AVD migrations that we're working on right now today. If I'm a seller, I'm like, dude, I'm going to make my number right here with this one partner on this deal. Like, they're not throwing anything over the fence. They're not all over the place. They have a really clear, discrete go-to-market strategy that I can engage in. They have some of my customers involved. So that would be where I would really start engaging sellers, just making sure that you're showcasing your business well, and you're bringing that comprehensive book, more than just saying, hey, look, I got this certificate, or I have this. It helps sellers a lot really ground themselves on how to go to business with you. Brandon, what do you think?
Yeah. Well, would you add to that, or because you've seen it from the other perspective, like you've seen it and partner comes in, right? And maybe an example or two of maybe a mistake. What were your thoughts be?
It's a good one. Let's talking towards like maybe common mistakes that I've seen that we could learn from as a group. And again, I'm giving constructive criticism to this crew because you live and breathe it every day. I'll be the first one, as Andy would be. I mean, literally, we were laughing because when we first talked about joining this podcast a year ago, we were having the internal conversation on the other side of how you can be effective working with partners and common mistakes that we make on the Microsoft side working with partners. So it is very much a two-way street. If I were to simplify, I would say in terms of first all over engagement is just oversetting expectations. It's like any sort of new relationship. It's all based on trust, and it's all based upon what we say we're going to do and what we deliver. And so to Andy's point, when you get a can do everything partner, or just like Microsoft, we give you can-do everything solutions. We can do this and that and this and that, and it's all Microsoft all the time. It does kind of qualify you out mentally to say, okay, but what are you really good at? Because I just had another partner tell me the exact same thing. And so I think setting expectations on, hey, this is what we're good at and how we do it. And having that credibility with those references that Andy's talking about, with a process approach. And then what I would say to really reinforce at scale is a repeatable offer, right? And so think about like the average corporate seller, again, has between 40 and 60 accounts, SMB, they're managing a bigger swath, right? You want something that's so simple that you can enable that seller to be your champion, to basically place the intro as a PDF or as a link to your program. Because guess what? If they're looking to do, VMware to the cloud, this is actually a workshop you should do that is yielding results. If they want to add Sentinel to really get the next level of secure migrate, you add that and you make it real. And there's a repeatable process. And so to the extent that you can simplify your offer so that you're building awareness and then you're linking it to your superpower, I think that's a huge item. If you don't, then like Andy says, you're stuck with this wonderful Microsoft partner engine and library that's too much. It's not curated. It's not simplified for execution purposes. So those are two key ones that I would say. Focus on a repeatable offer that people can, kind of an API that sellers can plug into your superpower, and then set realistic expectations at what you're good at and how you do it.
Now, just to kind of follow up on both of those thoughts together, we see so many partners, and I always do this. I'm like, let's take a look at your website. Now, let's take a look at your 5 competitors' websites. And every one of you says the same thing. We are the greatest at customer support. We are 24/7, 365. We are the best at everything. Mm-hmm. Like, really? You're not. You're not. And also, in the past 5 years, we've got almost 10,000 net new workloads in Azure alone. Holy Moses. How the heck are you going to be an expert at all those? You're not. And that's why there are specializations. So I think parroting on what Brandon and Andy are saying is specialize a little bit more. Let's understand what you can do. And I like the whole idea about repeatable offer. Having something that's repeatable that you can go, because you have to think of the psychology of that account executive. What do they want, right? Well, hey, if I'm going to bring in a partner to my deal, my first thing is is that the partner dependable? Okay, can they do it? Do they know the cloud adoption framework? Number 2, do they got something that I can not just take to this person, but I can then take to 5 other and really hit my quota like that? You have to think, what is the mindset of that person and apply that to it. All right, next question here. We're not going to go to that poll here for time purposes, but how important is partner responsiveness when sellers are working opportunities? Brandon, do you want to go hit this one first?
Yeah, I'll give it a whirl. It's everything. Everything that our sales teams are doing comes down to trust. It comes down to establishing the customer trust and commitment to us, and to work with another partner or vendor. You have to have trust between the stakeholders that we are all after the same ballgame, right? And that we're not going to waste time. And so I would say to that, the responsiveness on both times. Sellers have limited time. They have to figure out the easiest path from A to B. And like you were hitting on, Richard, you got to understand what that A to B, what is the B for each of the sellers that we're working with on the counter side. It's a slightly different one for partners driving, again, license and services versus a seller that's trying to drive new consumption, for instance. And then how do you find the happy medium so that you can align that, right? The responsiveness is super critical, particularly in corporate. And I guess taking a step back and sharing a little bit of color from a corporate seller's world is, by and large, let's just take Azure, for instance. When you're talking about SMC, SMB, growth majors, it's all kind of the same game in terms of ultimately in the Azure world, they're gold on consumption. So they are paid on what customers consume. That's a long journey, right? But breaking that out across the sales cycle, finding new pipe in each of their key buckets is something that they are gold on and have some spiffs on. Qualifying and getting it to partner. This has been an ever increasing metric now at Microsoft in the corporate landscape and SMB So you want to qualify richly and then get it to partner quicker so that you can then drive better velocity. And guess what? Now we have the data that shows with some partners that does occur and with others it doesn't. Well, why, you might ask, is different by each cycle. And so you can start now with the data, unpack which partners are able to take an opportunity to commit more quickly, and then which ones are able to take it commit to consuming more quickly. And you can start to see patterns. And part of what I would put out to you all is, from a seller's psyche, they are being not whipped, but pressured with privilege,
Prodded.
right? Yeah, prodded to not only get the consumption, but how they do that, right? And so even though, one of the takeaways is always, hey, everybody likes new deals, I would argue that in the corporate space, a bigger need is I'll give you a qualified opportunity and I need you to help me take that commitment and take that into a POC that's consuming, that then opens up a flywheel of opportunities beyond that, right? So it's not, kind of, again, the partner responsiveness is key, but it's all about then at different stages, those are different honest communications we have to have. And I guess I would add this to the mix, Richard. And, I've been in Texas for 11 years, but I'm not certified. Right? I grew up in Indiana, spent most of my adult professional career in Asia, but they have a lot of good colloquialisms here, including one of my favorites is, don't piss on the leg and tell me it's raining, right? And so what I would offer as an analogy is, too often we don't have honest communications up front in our sales exchanges of leads and opportunities to say, hey, that wasn't good. Those leads weren't good. But why weren't they good? What do we need to improve and enhance? And that goes both ways. That goes both, whether you're putting stuff in a partner center that then sales teams are picking up and prosecuting with you, or whether we're passing stuff out from Microsoft to y'all, is you got to have conversations up front of, this is how we play together, right? And this is what good looks like, because it's different. It's different, seller by seller.
That's great.
Let me maybe add one. Yeah, I'll add a couple things onto that, because I think the responsiveness is interesting. Brandon alluded to it a little bit. Listen, I was never at lack of partners to service Microsoft demand. And as a matter of fact, some of our biggest partners were really built to just do that. And if you go back years ago, they were really not opportunity generation engines. They purely were consumers of Microsoft demand. And this escalated, I would say, in the last 2 years, where you're having some of the biggest partners really expressing frustration because that demand's not coming to them in the same way. And we're really forcing them to reposition themselves and say, hey, you need to really make sure your pre-sales engineers are ready. You need to have marketing departments. You need to have sales teams that are ready to really take these and run with it. And, I see Rob's comments in the chat, and Rob's cheating because he's one of Brandon and I's former partners in ours on these topics. But I really want smaller partners to get in there and start throwing elbows, like start creating opportunities and owning opportunities, taking those opportunities to conclusion. There's sellers want deals that are going to close. And I think that I've been in the room with some of the biggest partners, and I do mean the biggest partners, expressing frustration because, opportunities aren't coming and the opportunities are there. There's 15 Microsoft people circling and saying, hey, what are you doing to progress this? I need this to move to the next deal stage, So really think about that as a partner and how you can showcase yourself and provide what I think was the most important thing, which is really deal velocity. And then, like I say, throw elbows, get in there, create those opportunities. Make sure that you have pre-sales engineers. Make sure you have mature sales teams. You're ready to take them and own them. All right.
Awesome. All right, let's move into the next question here. What advice would you give partners trying to build a stronger relationships with Microsoft sellers? And I'm going to have Andrew, why don't you start with that?
Yeah, so I'll give you a little bit of a different one. I think we've touched on some of the main ones, but I think my solid piece of advice, and we touched on this a little bit before, don't come in and be a super generalist. I have seen a lot of partners do absolutely incredible work by understanding Microsoft's priorities and where Microsoft wants to lead, and be willing to build a solution around it, be willing to be the first through the glass, right? Be willing to break and eventually get tied up with the engineering teams. And I saw this a lot with Fabric. I've seen this a lot with some of the MSSPs, the security solution focused partners, where they come in and really dig deep and build a solution. And then they have Microsoft teams coming to them because, quite frankly, bigger partners take forever to pivot. So there are smaller partners that are creating a lot of space. This is a priority for sellers. Sellers are being quoted on this, and they have a partner that's out there light years ahead of everyone else. So if you see an opportunity, and I would say my last and best piece of advice, I know we have a lot of questions, so I'll try to condense it a little bit, but really pay attention. Microsoft puts out every year what are Microsoft's Uber priorities, right? And look for where those Uber priorities align with your business. Microsoft's never going to come out in this day and age and say, hey, I really want you to go deep on AVS, right? Azure VMware Solutions. I mean, they have said Copilot in AI, and I think we're coming up on the end of the fiscal year when Microsoft will really do what, Dave Miller and team and myself and everybody used to do. We used to launch the partner playbooks to 100,000 partners on planet Earth. And really, we would give 5 priorities. Like, look in those priorities, find your business in there, build a solution around it, make sure you're building pipeline around it, reference that, have referenceable wins, and then don't be afraid to sell yourself to sellers, right? This is who we are. This is what we do. Here's case studies. I'm working with your engineering team on this. We have these opportunities in pipeline. And sellers are going to say, good, because I have a lot of pressure to close things like that. You just jumped to the top of my list. And I'm seeing this, and this opportunity in my customer that, quite frankly, I'm going to bring straight to you instead of some other big partner who I know full well hasn't even started to build a solution here. So I think top of mind, that's really where I want to see partners differentiate in very, very specific use cases. Industry use cases are a very, very important one. Very specialized use cases are important ones as well. I don't know, Brandon?
Yeah, look, if I could, somehow I can't get into the chat, I would be dropping a Tom Cruise meme in right now of help me help you, right? In the sense of having your superpower clarified, whatever that specialization or that niche is, and then an offer that they can easily prescribe to customers, and then in a perfect world, a reference for said region or industry that you're talking to them in that's real, that people can point to, that then customer, then think about it. This guy or gal is talking with 10 to 15 customers, real conversations a day. That may be their pitch for the day. Oh, you have this need, you're in this industry. Oh, we're working with the customer right now with this partner. They have a great on-ramp for this solution. Have you ever considered this? Right? That's easy. Oh, here's the PDF. Here's the link. Then you've empowered and coached them to be part of your virtual team. And I know it sounds pithy to say, but that simplifying for scale execution on the Microsoft side, everybody has an appetite for it. Because guess what? There's too many partner choices. Our CRM systems are as bad as Partner Center, right? They're getting better, but it's still a lot of noise. And so simpler is better. And to the extent that you can connect your superpower to a simple offer, and then you can show responsiveness, you're going to get runs on the board. And to Andy's point, again, you don't have to be a big dog for this to take fire. I remember one of our last partner centers that I was in last year, in Dallas. We had a couple of partners that were really good at taking an AI use case and an AI interest and then workshopping that into a POC and then getting that into a broader Azure, move to cloud discussion, right? And so you start that with one seller, you get another person on the team, and guess what? Even in the virtual water cooler, people start to see things and people hear from their peers about the responsiveness and this is working. And guess what? Then you get a flood. Then you get that viral appeal.
That's great. Richard, why don't we go and launch poll 4? And then we're going to get to this question. But actually, while we're launching the poll, You guys Rob had a good question for you. How important is it to have a vertical focus, differentiate with specializations or horizontal use cases, vertical industry scenario expertise? Would you guys just mind just touching on that really quickly? How important is that?
So Rob's asking a great, awesome question there. If I get to take my Microsoft hat off for a second, specializations are an interesting construct, and I'm not knocking specializations, but I will say that I would look to a partner. I would actually look at what their performance was in an area, even in a particular vertical, and then I would look to see if they had a specialization. If we had opportunities and somebody said, "Hey, I need 5 partners that can deliver this in Germany," I would look to go see who was doing the actual work. So for me, I would consider specializations supporting evidence. I don't think sellers go look specifically for specializations. I think they primarily go look for partners that are performing. And I'm not saying that specializations aren't important, but I will say that, quite frankly, and I think everybody in this call should really ingest this one, things are changing really, really fast in technology right now. And I'm not going to say that I think specializations are a little bit legacy, but specifically in AI, I was working with Kirill and team, and we were launching AI Jumpstart. We needed AI Jumpstart because literally what was true in AI 6 weeks ago was no longer relevant. And, we had partners that, they wanted to get a specialization. I didn't even know how to build the book and how to work to design the audit for the specialization. Things were changing that fast. Yeah, so certainly if you can have a viewpoint, an industry focus, a vertical focus in an area that Microsoft prioritizes, I would lean in there first. And if the specialization makes sense, get it. I'm not saying don't get it. I'm just saying in this era, I might focus a little bit more forward in a vertical or industry specific solution.
Cool. Thank you. Thank you very much. All right, let's move on to this next one here. It's a lot of times you hear this, oh, well, KPMG or some of these monster things get all the deals. That's just to get all the deals. But in your opinion, what separates partners who consistently win with Microsoft from those who struggle? And we'll truncate this response on this one. We got a couple more questions to go before the end of the session. But Brandon, why don't you start with this one?
There's so many, but let me just give you top of mind, and then Andy can just ping off of that. I would say that communication, having a regular cadence at the manager level, right? A regular cadence at the seller level, so that you have expectations clear, you have a clear set of actions, and then you're holding each other accountability. We've all been to the shake hands and my word's as good as oak, and boy, you look good, Tom. How's the golf game? And then again, we come back in a month and our manager is like, hey, Blau, where's the pipeline? What happened? What came out of this, right? It's like ensuring that you don't have those conversations, that you have a tell me it's raining, if it's raining conversation, and then you improve and enhance. I'd say that's one. I think the other thing I've noticed, particularly in the scale business, look, I have a lot of empathy for everybody in line here in terms of leveraging the Microsoft ecosystem. Our seller tools, right? God bless them. You guys still keep growing, even though we struggled with Marketplace and Partner Center and made it, I think, as hard as possible over the years. It's getting better. It needs to get a lot better, right? But it's complex. Similarly, getting the right investments that are changing all the time matched to the right criteria and into the system. Similarly, getting paid, right? Getting paid on those incentives. Where I observe, again, the non-sexy but critical component is operational quarterbacks in each of the businesses, small or larger partners that are gurus. Maybe they're ex-Microsoft, maybe they've been in the system for a long time, but they know how the bread is buttered. They know the good, the bad, and the ugly of the systems and how to unblock or escalate. And also, particularly with the investments, how to tap into them and how to make sure that we're getting the recognition and the payment on them. I think that can be overemphasized enough, particularly if you're new to the Microsoft ecosystem. Make sure you've got a strong ops guy or gal there that's running point, because that will unblock deals. And that will also make it easier for your folks to get paid and then want to sell more Microsoft stuff and services, right?
Excellent answer. Andrew, how would you add to that?
I wouldn't add a lot to, but in the interest of time, I'll throw just one quick thing. I saw a lot of partners who are willing to specialize and build a solution with Microsoft leapfrog greatly ahead on the orders of millions and millions of dollars on one or two solutions by just becoming a very trusted seller. From my own history, I'll take Azure VMware Solutions, where we had smaller partners that just got known for being able to flip the lights off in a data center in 30 days. And yes, they leveraged some other partners, but they were just really good at it, to the point where they were subcontracting with a lot of the GSIs. They just did it better and faster than everyone else. So I've definitely seen that in specific use cases. And then plus one to really everything Brandon said.
Awesome. Moving into this, and I think you're just kind of talking about it though a little bit here, but we have this one is, how can partners create opportunities that are compelling for Microsoft sellers? I think we've touched on several of these points. Yeah. Maybe if you give like a very quick thought on that.
Yeah.
Who wants to start on this?
Yeah, I'll kick that one. I think we pretty much illustrated a lot of that, but I would just say this: be easy to work with, right? Have pipeline, have a mature solution, have pre-sales engineers, have a mature sales force, have a good alliance team that understand how programs and incentives work, understand Partner Center, be really good friends with Sherman Crancer, like make sure you're doing everything that you have to do, but really help sellers. I mean, I think that is the best thing. If you have pipeline that has both breadth, depth, and then last has velocity, you're making their job so much easier. And really, for that, you're creating these pools that they can just hover on and do really well in. So at top level, I think it sort of encompasses a lot of what we've sort of poked at in the other conversations. But really, just find that place and be good there.
No, Brandon, I'm going to ask you just to add to that. However, let me just say one thing. I would say stop having your hand out. Stop this madness of you asking for stuff. Instead, think of the psychology of the seller. Think about what's going to motivate them, and then how do you help that seller achieve what they want to do, or what they want to get. Psychology here, but stop with your, hey, what opportunities do you have for me? Being myopic doesn't help you in this situation. Brandon, do you want to add to that?
No, I just amplify what you said. Example, right? Every year, as I said, on the Azure side, as for instance, but equally in any of the solution areas, you get paid on a number. That number is broken up into a couple of different incentive buckets. Understanding which of the buckets are important to that seller will help you align some of your strengths to help them blast through the buckets that'll get them the commissions faster. And guess what? They'll come to you more often, right? And so just, again, know your customer. With that internal customer being the Microsoft seller is paramount to being successful with them.
Awesome. Now, before we get to the next question, I do want to give a shout out to Stratos Cloud Alliance and the great Scott May. He just put something in there. I'm going to be seeing him down at Directions. If you are a Dynamics partner, I would say talk to Stratos Cloud Alliance. They really help out with Dynamics. That's what they specialize in. And kind of, we're talking about specializations here, specializing in things. But if you ever need anything when it comes to Dynamics, Scott May and the Stratos Cloud Alliance team are longtime partners of ours. We've been partnered with them for about 5 years now. So we're very happy with what they do with the group. But thanks, Scott, for that thing. All right, let's get into how should partners future-proof their business as Microsoft evolves. Who wants to take that one down?
Let me start with a couple thoughts on that one. One of these might be a little controversial, but
you got to be yourself.
You
got to be yourself.
Yeah, be yourself, brother.
Got to be yourself. Well, I think partners should understand and see the changes that are happening within Microsoft, and Microsoft transferring and wanting partners to shoulder a lot more of these engagements. That's one. Two, build your business in a durable way. And this is something, Brandon will tell you this. I think other people that have worked with Microsoft puts out core priorities that are pretty stable, but different teams within Microsoft, different areas can have really wildly varying priorities. Be really true to who you are as a partner. And I have seen a lot of partners get run up on the rocks because they did something unholy to align with a particular team. And then a priority shifted within Microsoft, and that particular work stream or solution area got deprioritized, and the partner had invested a lot into it. So I would really say build your business in a durable way, build your business in an end-to-end, very, very intelligent and intentional fashion towards the future. I think I alluded to it earlier. Businesses that have partners that have done a lot to service Microsoft capacity. I think especially as we see sellers pivoting to AI-powered selling, if Microsoft's starting to use AI internally, which it's much further behind, I think, than you would imagine, but they will get there. They're very, very smart people, and they'll start having a lot more directional control on what happens with that pipeline, and there'll be less, quote, human in the mix. Like, as a partner, you have to build that business and get out and establish that for yourself. And so I know 4 minutes left, but Brandon, any other thoughts?
I just amplify that, to the extent aligned with your specialization, where the Microsoft solution priority is. What is it? Drink your own champagne, eat your own dog food, right? To the extent that, you want to be positioning Copilot, the fact that you have it running, that you failed on a couple of things, again, talk to that, how you're seeing some productivity, that you've written some agents for an industry solution that you can talk to, again, what you learned. Doesn't have to be all success. Talk about what the screw ups were, and then this is common, and this is what will help you with, so you don't have to repeat the mistakes that we made, etc. That's the only thing I would say to amplify, Andy, what you highlighted there.
Awesome. Let's go ahead and launch our next poll here. I'm very curious on this one. It's kind of a fun poll here. Richard, go ahead and push that one out. Basically, it's let's see, Richard. He's pushing that one out right now. In kind of your voting words. Well, when it comes out, there we go. Here we go. How should partners future-proof their business at as Microsoft evolves? I put in there, build deep Microsoft expertise, create repeatable industry solutions, align with Microsoft, go all in with AI, and forget your core business. That's kind of my, and it's kind of interesting.
You don't have to do that. You just have to put AI in your title, Sherman.
Yeah, that's right. Everyone's got AI now. Yeah, absolutely. I'm the AI CEO of AI CEO. All right. Let's go with our last question here. I'm gonna pick. If you could give partners one piece of advice about working with Microsoft sellers, what would it be?
Oh, Brandon, you want to go first or second?
Yeah, I'll lead off so that you can kind of close with your sultry tones. I would say this. I would say, again, to repeat and emphasize some of the themes we've talked about, simplify and align your superpowers with repeatable offers, right? Show that you're not a one-off. You're not just looking for the service on one project, that you're there for the bigger game, right? Repeatable offers that sellers can easily grok and then position to customers on your behalf, on their time. You're simplifying for them so that they can simplify for you, demand gen that then connects with trust customers, and ideally results in some quick pragmatic wins that build trust with the customer and that also establish then the bigger picture for where they want to go, right? And clarification around their key priorities, both short and long term. And I would just say, call it flywheel, call it programmatic selling. That's the secret sauce for business that scales in SMC corporate MB.
Awesome. Thank you. Andrew, one piece of advice.
Come to the table with something. Really, help them, help you. And, be prepared to be responsive, everything that Brandon mentioned, but just come with the evidence, come with a complete package. They'll appreciate that.
Wonderful, wonderful. All right. So, hey, we're very rarely do I give emails out or pretend, actual contact information here, but we are today. If you want to get a hold of Andrew or Brandon, there is the email address, or you can always contact us. We'll do warm introductions. You can always just send a quick one. We'll do this. I think they're both, high value, high impact individuals. That did a lot of great things at Microsoft, and frankly, you'd be lucky to have them, talk to you about something. So I think they're both looking for new and interesting opportunities. So if you have that, let us know. Also, we have a last poll here. Would you like to be contacted by the Crancer Group to evaluate your partner practice? Yes, no, thank you. You're yawning. I don't want no more problems. Figure that out. And then the last thing I'm going to mention here is next month we've got another great speaker on the tip, Sanju Nair, who's Microsoft Senior Partner Marketing Manager. He is impactful. Holy Moses! And he's going to do a cool demo of one of the new agents that came out that most of us are supposed to know about, but we don't know about. And that's going to leave you with that. But he's going to do a cool new demo. But we're really happy. It's going to be the Copilot GTM guide for Microsoft partners. Nice. So please tell your friends to register to come to this. We'd like to have them there. But lastly, thank you, Andrew, Brandon. Really appreciate this. It's been another great session. Andrew, you've been on a few times. Brandon, you're our first guest for the first time, but thank you. I think we brought some really great information to the folks here. And then we will also be doing a recap of this. We will be sending out to everybody who's registered here. We'll send out the link to the video, a recap using AI. Oh yeah. We're going to do a nice little recap and then answer any questions that we have here. And the last thing I'm going to mention with Rob Reardon from Cisco is a new partner, a new friend of the Crancer Group. We are actually extending our reach into Cisco. We're going to be helping ISVs that are ISVs for Microsoft work with Cisco and figuring out how do we work together, all together in a good way to really drive revenue and all those really great things. So just stay on top of that for a while. But anyways, thanks again. Have a great afternoon, a great week. We'll see you again next month, last Friday of the month. All right, have a good day. Thanks again. Bye-bye.
Great weekend.
Thank you.